Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Hive-Free celebration. I am so pleased to be sharing the story of Britney because, against all odds, she really pulled through, and you'll hear more about her story when we share in this interview. So, welcome, Britney. How about you tell everyone where you are and how you found me?
I live way up north next to the Canadian border, and I was searching through Hives groups on Facebook one day, and I had, learned a lot about Hives over the years. And so I had noticed that what Marae was saying in some of her messages to people really aligned with what I had learned and what I believed in. And so I reached out and asked her if she knew something about Hives that I didn't know. And she said she was actually a functional coach. So we started talking more, and it seemed like a good fit for me. So we moved forward.
Yeah, and I remember those first conversations we had, Brittany, because and this is something that a lot of the people that come into my world, firstly, it's like they don't believe, and then they hear about more about how I teach and how it's possible, and then they watch a Hive-Free celebration like yours, and I think you'd watched Jasmine's, and you maybe probably watched a few others, and
Right.
but there's always an element of skepticism, which I fully accept because I'm a stranger to you, and I'm telling you that I can help you reverse your hives. So tell us a little bit about that in the beginning, because you have quite an interesting story there.
Yeah. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about my hive journey. So I had hives in 2008. I was actually diagnosed with chronic hives. I was working in the Czech Republic and came down with hives, and they were head to toe every day, all day. Angioedema, swelling in the lips, eyes, throat, and I lived like that for 5 years straight. So I was on prednisone for a year straight. I took cocktails of antihistamines all day long for those 5 years. They went away randomly without knowing why in 2012, and then I was hive free from 2012 to 2017. In 2017, I was diagnosed with vitiligo, so I started working with a functional coach to try and help my vitiligo. And in between there, I had had issues with psoriasis and gut tape psoriasis, and I have a autoimmune thyroid condition. So in 2017, I started working with a functional coach to help with my vitiligo to see if there was anything I could do to help restore some of my pigment loss. And we started working together. She actually gave me some pills that would help combat candida. And what ended up happening was I ended up with an overgrowth of the wrong bacteria in my gut and ended up getting hives again.
Wow.
So ended up getting hives in 2017 for 5 weeks. I was able to get rid of those on my own just by my knowledge on DAO enzyme and low histamine foods and different things like that. I was already on a, pretty low grain, no sugar diet from the candida that I thought I had. So I was able to get rid of the hives within 5 weeks. So fast forward to 2022, and we're on vacation with my family, and I come down with hives again. So now I try for the 5 weeks to get rid of my hives on my own using the knowledge I had previously with all of my hives information. And I could not get rid of these hives. They were continuously getting worse, and I didn't know what to do. And so that's when I reached out to Marae, because I just had at that point, I was losing faith in what I knew and how to get rid of them. And I didn't know if I would ever get rid of them. So did I answer that question, or what was the actual
No,
question?
that's great. I mean, then you've just told the whole hive journey, and it's great that you highlighted, because this is where a lot of people are as well, is they have hives a long time ago, and they, by miracle or something they did, happened to shift, that they became hive free, and they never really understood what it was.
Yeah.
But you, on the other hand, you had researched so much and you knew a lot. I mean, you've done a lot of work. You'd researched the entire low histamine diet and the DAO enzymes and all the supplements you could possibly
Leaky gut, like all the things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you felt like you were doing them all. So let's chat about that area where you because you got to the point where you reached out to me and we had this discussion, I remember, and you were telling me a little bit about your family, because your mom's a nurse practitioner and your sister's a physician assistant, and you were really keen on working with me, but I could sense this nervousness, or this like a little bit of distrust. I mean, but totally, because I'm a stranger. But so tell me what was going on there and what they were telling you.
Yeah, so in November, when I came down with hives again, I went and set up an appointment with my dermatologist, my allergist, my primary care doctor. And since I hadn't had hives since 2017, I was now living in a new city and had to establish all new doctors again. So I went and met with all of them. I have a high deductible health care plan, so I was already into it, thousands of dollars by the time I found Murray. And I had all these doctors, including my mom and sister, telling me, this lady in Switzerland, she's whack. Like, there's no way she can get rid of hives. If she knew how to get rid of hives, everyone would know how to get rid of hives. And all of us doctors would know how to get rid of hives. You have no cause for your hives. You have chronic hives. You just need to learn to deal with them, and you need to take antihistamines. And I was taking the antihistamines. For the first 5 or 6 weeks, I tried to not take the antihistamine, and then I kept getting worse. So I started adding like a half of Zyrtec every day, and then eventually had to go to 1 a day. And by the time Murray and I started working together, I was on 2 a day, which was nothing compared to what I did back in 2008. I mean, I was on probably 15 different antihistamines a day then. Yeah. But I was getting scared because I didn't trust the process. I knew that the Western medicine approach was to continuously add more and more antihistamines, and they eventually wear off, and you keep adding more, and you add more, and you add more, and you get more groggy and more tired, and your quality of life just keeps going down, and you have no certainty on when they're going to go away. So at that point, it's scary to think about giving all of your money to someone in Switzerland, and you don't know if it's a scam, because there's a lot of scams out there nowadays. So it did help for me to talk to some of the people that had gone through Murray's program and see that they had had success and that it wasn't a scam, because I could see their Facebook profiles. I knew they were just like random normal people like me. And I also felt a lot safer knowing that you had a group of people that would be meeting weekly. Because it wasn't just me giving you money and thinking, is she ever going to call me back? Wow. You had a group, we had Zoom meetings, your system was very professional. So once you started sending that, I felt a little bit more at ease, because I thought, okay, well, she's put the time into a system, and I'm a systems analyst, and I've spent many years deploying systems. And so I thought, well, you have a system, so you've at least put that much effort into it. And I researched your background, your training. What you were saying on Facebook aligned with what knowledge I did have and what I believed in from a natural standpoint. Even though my mom and my sister from the Western medicine side were saying, do not do this. This is insane. I just took a leap of faith. I prayed about it, and I literally had you walk into my life, and I was like, I've got to do this. So
I'm so glad. Yeah. And I'm so glad that I got to support you through this, because look what you've achieved. And you mentioned so many autoimmune diagnoses, and I remember having this conversation with you that I feel really, really confident about the hives in the 10 weeks, right? Because I've seen it happen so many times. But your psoriasis, your vitiligo, and your autoimmune thyroid, I wouldn't expect that in 10 weeks that I would reverse any of that. So do you want to update me on what progress has looked like on that front? Because I think for many of the people in the group, they're also struggling with other conditions.
Yeah, so I've had Hashimoto's hypothyroidism since I was 11. So I've struggled with this for many, many years. My thyroid has been stable for like the last 10 years. When my hives showed up in November, the first thing I did was get my thyroid tested, and it was normal. I started doing Murray's program, and it was about a month later, I had my normal physical with my doctor, and I asked him to test my thyroid again. He said, why? We just tested it a month ago. I said, I just have a feeling. So this was maybe 3 weeks into your program, 2.5 weeks into your program. And actually it was more like I think it was three weeks into your program, but a month since I'd been tested last. And so he thought it was weird that I wanted to be tested, and they tested, and sure enough, I was being over medicated at that point, which indicated that my thyroid hormones were improving on their, through this program. So we actually reduced my thyroid medication. I just had another test yesterday. This is now 3 months later. And I'm still almost on that hyper over medicated, meaning I could go down again on my medication. So it's been a pretty drastic reduction in the medicine that I need for my thyroid. And I take Synthroid every day. And I was able to continue taking Synthroid on your program. It wasn't like I had to stop my normal pharmaceutical drugs. The other thing I had was vitiligo, and I've noticed a few little spots. Vitiligo is a very, very slow moving autoimmune disorder. So it seems like it can go quick to reduce your pigment, but to gain pigment back is a very slow process. So I have noticed some spots on my knees that have improved. I've like just a few freckles here and there. And I haven't noticed any new spots form throughout that time. So that's good. My psoriasis is pretty, I mean, I usually only have it mild on my elbows and like oddly enough on my nose. So it always looks like I have like a booger hanging from my nose, but that is the nose psoriasis is gone. My elbows are pretty much like clear. I don't even have lotion. You see vitiligo and then there's usually psoriasis, but I don't have lotion on or anything today. Occasionally there's like a little bit of flaking, but it's so mild I barely notice it anymore. So yeah, that's been a huge improvement.
Brilliant. So yeah, for those who don't know, we work a lot on gut health in the program. So diet was something that you already had nailed down from the get-go. And in fact, you said when you started my program, you were so happy you could be eating more foods than what you were eating. And
yeah, I was doing low FODMAP and low histamine combined. So I was eating almost nothing.
Yeah.
And then your program, it was like, oh, I can actually eat.
Yeah, that's my goal, is for you to be eating more foods than less foods of it. So that's brilliant. So that's been one change for sure. And but I have to add, because everyone that's listening, Britney is amazing at diet diligence. She knew so much also already coming into the program, but she was also very, very diligent on the diet. And when we do the reintroductions, you were very methodical in reintroducing, and you waited and you tested and you checked back, and you were rather very methodical, let's put it that way. And also, during the program, you came off your antihistamines as well. And you were also, again, where people are just building the trust in their body to be able to let the medications go. So you started titrating down on your antihistamines. And by what week, can you remember what week you were off the antihistamines?
I remember at 2 weeks and 3 days into your program, I noticed my hives started going away. So it was like they were getting worse and worse and worse. And I was still kind of in that panic mode. Like, is this program working? And I almost think it needed to get worse before it got better. Like it was like a kill phase or something where my body was purging whatever it was. And I started noticing, 2 weeks and 3 days. It was like, I texted my mom and my sister to be like, hey, it's working. And so at about 3.5 weeks, because my period cycle was in that mix somewhere, I wanted to wait until after my period in order to start phasing out of the antihistamines. So it was probably week 4 that I actually started getting rid of the antihistamines. And I spent a couple of weeks going from, 2 to 1.5, 1 half. I was doing pill cutting. So I was cutting all the pills and alternating days. So I didn't want to shock my body getting off of those. And I was able to get off of the antihistamine pretty easily with no flares or anything. I'm still in the process, because I am so methodical and you don't want to introduce more than one food a day. I still have a few foods that I have not introduced, but I haven't had any issues adding foods back throughout the process. So I think the only ones I still have to add back are, like, I'm not drinking alcohol yet, but I'm not sure if I ever really drink that much alcohol. So, yeah, there's just a couple foods left, or spices really, that I need to add back. But
But you
I've been
feel
able to
like
go
you're
on
in
2 different vacations. So
yeah.
I'm sure, you know, I may have even been exposed to some of this already, but it's not part of my checklist yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I've been on 2 different vacations and have had no hives and have been, you know, easily able to find food where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, just for everyone watching, how many weeks hive-free are you so far?
Um, I was trying to figure that out. I think I'd have to go back in my journal, but I know I've been hive free for a couple of months.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And
So I started January 9th on your program, and it's now April
yeah.
5th. So, and like I said, like about a month into it, I was tapering off the antihistamines and feeling great.
Brilliant.
There's other benefits to the program. Like I have a lot of energy now. I just, yeah, I feel
Okay,
much
so
better.
how about because you've worked with many different practitioners and you worked with me, could you describe for everyone listening how working with me might have been different to working with other practitioners?
Yeah, I've worked with like a naturopathic physician and a functional nurse practitioner, and I think the difference is a lot of the people I have used have still operated like a Western medicine doctor, where they need to run tests and spend a lot of money trying to get data that they don't actually use. So like I've done, even before we met, I was already in the process of working with someone in Arizona, and I had spent $400 on a stool test, and I had spent that, you know, thousands of dollars on blood tests with my Western medicine doctors here. None of those things ever show up with any information that was really useful. And maybe for some people it would, but for my case in particular, it was like I had done all these like little exercises with other people to try and find the cause.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, sometimes the cause is like too much of a mystery, and you just have to start treating your body in a certain way and addressing things from all angles. And that's what you did. I think you understood things from like a top down approach that most people that I've worked with have not understood. And then you didn't spend a lot of time or money, you know, we didn't waste a lot of time and money just trying to figure out the cause. We just like jumped into it and tried to resolve the issue. Um, and so I think that was very useful for me, because you had a process and we were able to follow the process, and it was a repeatable process. And so from my standpoint, I kept thinking, well, you know, if you're able to do this across the board, you know, from my system knowledge that I have, if you're able to repeat something with multiple people across the board, like it's a good solution.
Yeah.
It's not like you had to go in and nitpick at every single thing in my life to find the solution for me. So you had a very repeatable standard process that I liked. And I think that just was a huge difference from everybody that I've worked with.
Yeah. And so, you know, we did quite a lot of work in those 10 weeks. And, you know, clearly you had a history of hives before, and they went away and they came back, and then they went away and they came back. So, you know, this time, how do you feel differently about, you know, the hives staying away, right? And then you having the knowledge and the tools to keep the hives away?
Well, yeah. So the previous times I mean, the first time I had no idea why I got hives or how they went away. The second time I had a pretty good idea of how I got them, so I was able to make them go away. This time I had a pretty good idea of what happened. I had let my body get run down, and I had a lot more stress lately, which I don't think stress is a trigger for me, because there's been other stressful periods of my life where I didn't get hives. That's the first thing everyone says. It's the stress. It's the stress. I don't think for me it was the stress, but for me, the stress caused me to stop eating healthy. The stress caused me to start drinking more coffee, more wine, sleeping less. It started doing all these, you know, what I would call negative habits. And so I think after going through your program, now I feel more confident that I have more control. I know what my body needs to be in like the perfect prime condition to not get diseases and to not be so prone to getting the flus and the colds and the other autoimmune disorders that are, floating around out there, that people with autoimmune disorders are always worried about getting the next one. So I feel like now I know, so much more about digestion. I know so much more about gut microbiome. I know so much more about just hydration, all the things that we need to keep ourselves healthy. So I just feel like going forward, I'm not going to get myself back into that lifestyle or that rut where I'm prone to getting hives again.
Yeah.
And if I do randomly get hives somehow, I know how to get rid of them now.
Yeah. Yeah. You just go through the program again. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, because then we mentioned your mom and your sister and how they were such non-believers. What did the conversations look like since you're Hive-Free now?
Well, it's a funny question because they were super excited for me when I told them it was working. And they kind of have not brought it up again, because I think it hurts a little bit. It hurts, I think, that they couldn't help, and that their training and their medicine couldn't help. Wow. So, I mean, my sister even asked, like, a couple of days before I started the program, she says, you take Synthroid every day. Why can't you just take an antihistamine every day? And I said, because the antihistamines don't work, and I don't want to be groggy, and I don't want to be on them for the rest of my life. Because with all the research I had done on DAO enzyme, I know that antihistamines actually reduce your body's natural ability to digest histamine. So I said, I don't want to continue this perpetual cycle of taking more antihistamines, reducing my body's ability to digest histamine, taking more antihistamines, because now I'm getting more hives, and then the cycle just continues. So I told her, I said, that's not going to work for me. I know that my life and my quality of life can be so much better if I do something different. Yeah. So they are happy for me. Brilliant. They haven't asked too many questions, but I will say I was going to Vegas for my daughter's soccer tournament, and I was panicking because I thought, Vegas, like, can I even find healthy food in Vegas? And the casinos and the strip are such a nightmare to be in, and not be able to just have quick access to things. And, I did take a cooler full of food there, but then, my mom met me there, and because she wanted to come watch the kids play soccer. And she said, I have a friend that's been struggling with eczema or something like that. Like, she wanted to know what I had done. So instead of just going towards her Western medicine, like, do this, she asked a couple of questions. She didn't sit around long enough to get all of the answers, but she had like a general idea, and she asked me if I would help her friend if her friend wanted it. And I said, well, I can always give him a raised number. Yeah. One of my other clients had also eczema, and the eczema was also a positive side effect that went away. So yeah. So I took that as like, confirmation that she now agreed with my approach. Yeah.
Brilliant. So there were probably a lot of people like you were in that boat, having seen me in the Facebook group, having seen that I celebrate with people, that it's possible, and may not be quite there yet. What would you say to them, if to help them cross that fence? Yeah.
I would say there's like no amount of, there's not a price you can put on your health. And I just feel like my quality of life is 1,000 times better right now. I have so much energy. I have clear skin now. I feel like longer term. Oh, thank you. I feel like longer term, my vitiligo is going to improve. Like, I have hope that I'm going to gain some pigment back just, by following, I'm not on as strict of a diet as we were in the beginning, but I'm never going to go back to just letting myself eat fast food kind of thing. So I'm going to continue going down this path and maintaining my health. So I think for anybody that's struggling to jump forward with this, just know that even if you're worried about it from a hive standpoint, like I was, like, I don't know if she's going to be able to get my hives to go away, because at that point I didn't really care about any of my other autoimmune disorders. I only cared about the hives, because out of all of the things I was dealing with, the hives were the ones that were the worst from a quality of life standpoint. So if you're debating, like, can she make the hives go away or not? I believe she can, but even if she doesn't, she's going to make your quality of life improve from all other angles. Like, I can't even, I mean, I haven't even drank coffee for 3 months, and I was drinking 5 cups a day. So I have energy. I'm out there shopping for all the holidays now for my kids and putting together like cute little baskets and things. Whereas before I didn't have the energy. I would do it, but I would kind of like do it with animosity almost. Now I just feel like I have my life back. I have my energy back. I have, you know, my comfort back. I'm no longer itching. I can wear jeans. I have a scratchy collared shirt on. So it's worth it. And it's not a scam. It's not, I feel like you were very, very knowledgeable and you answered any questions I had. I'm a very analytical person and I come across with the most bizarre questions because I've somehow linked certain things in my head that can cause this and can cause that. And I would just throw out the question and you would, oh, that's an interesting question. And I can see where you got there, but this is why that's not necessarily true. And this is why what I'm doing is going to work. And it just put my mind at ease and it helped me calm down and get rid of the hives.
Brilliant. I really, really appreciate that because I know there are a lot of analytical, systematic people out there, and I do somehow attract all of these left-brainers. And yeah, it's a very methodical process, and it does make sense when you allow yourself to go through it. So you've done an amazing job, Britney. So really the kudos go to you because you implemented. It's not about the knowledge you have in your head, it's about what you do with it. So
yeah.
I totally take my hat off.
Just having you to tell me the order to do things in.
Yeah. And not
so that I
not
didn't
see the
spend hours
squirrel.
and hours analyzing it
But
was just like, I had like the easy button. I felt like it was easy to implement.
yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and like I say, it's easy to get distracted by the next thing that you read, right? And I would always just bring you all back. That's what Megan said as well. It's like I helped you focus on the things that are most important on moving you forward. So,
and it also helped to have a group knowing that you weren't the only one going through it, and we could share recipes and share struggles or wins. I will say most of the time people were in a win mode. So
we had a beautiful group, and you added to that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that I found your program.
Well, thank you. And thanks for sharing, because definitely there will be people that want to reach out to you. And if you are open to it, just let me know and I'll share your details with them if they do want to chat to you.
Okay.
Well, thank you and congratulations. And I wish you all the best. And I'm sure we will stay in touch, as I do with all my clients, because I'm always curious on how you guys are doing. So I look forward to seeing you again.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.